Okay, if you follow sports at all, you know my next guest. He coached North Carolina State for 23 years, won the NCAA championship in 1983, and he's currently broadcasting for ABC Sports and ESPN. Would you welcome Jim Valvano? Jim? Good to see you again.
Nice to be here.
Last time we were here, we'd never met before, and we started talking about the nuttiest things about watching the Home Shopping Network and a hair device called a Flowbee or something. I heard from more people about that.
Me too. This audience would like it, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's weird, yeah. Now, watching the playoffs, the teams, when they win, they go nuts.
Yeah.
They go crazy. The fans go crazy. The players act like they're 9 years old. And so do the coaches. Didn't you accuse in the 83?
Yeah.
Of when you won, of going a little...
It's a wonderful moment. Anybody who watches sports, when the basket goes in or the home run, everybody goes crazy. Well, in 83, I did, and I've been trying to live it down ever since.
Yeah.
Last time I'll tell the story, but it's true. It happened, all of us have seen Wide World of Sports. I grew up watching it. They say, spinning the globe, spanning the sports world, the joy of victory, the agony of defeat. Everybody here. What's the agony of defeat? Everybody, what is it? You know what it is. See that? Everybody in the world knows it's that skier who's up there, poised for a beautiful takeoff. What happens? This man doesn't just fall. Watch it next thing. Hits a house on the way down.
Yeah.
Children, the whole thing. And he's not dead. This man is still alive. Every weekend of his life, no matter where he is, they go, hey, Pierre, here you come again. Check yourself out again. You know? His kids, mon père. You know, so
not to interrupt your story, but I'm going to interrupt only because they did a thing for Jim McKay last week on an anniversary thing, and they went and visited.
Did they?
That fellow, and they've been using him every year.
Did they push him off the cliff again?
He says, yeah, I see that ever so often. And that's all the people know me for is falling off of the thing.
That's right,
and
exactly.
He's a pretty good skier.
And so here I am, the night of my biggest game, playing Houston for the national championship, and I said, if we win, I think I should do a joy of victory. There are no joys of victory. Everybody knows the skier. So I said, I think I'll give him a joy of victory. So for 9 games in a row that we won, I had a play was as emotional as I was, a kid named Derek Wittenberg. And after every game, he'd run over to me, and he'd hug me. And he'd say, we're still alive, Coach, we're still playing. A lot of pictures of it, and people remarked about it. So I'm thinking, hey, if we win this thing, they told me before we went on that 50 million people would watch. So I said, hey, you know what?
Never get a shot like that again?
I'll sprint out on the court, figuring the cameras are going to be on me. Derek Wittenberg would see me, and he'd run to me. Now, you got the picture?
Yeah.
Here's Valvano running. Here's Wittenberg running. We'd get to center court, and we would hug. And television would do it the way they do it best, slow-mo. So I'd be, running like this. Wittenberg would do the old slowly I turned routine.
Right.
We'd get there. They'd put music to it, chariots of fire in the background.
You envisioned all of this happening?
Oh, certainly. I said, this is going to be a marvelous moment. I'm going to give him this thing. So the last shot goes up. We dunk it. We win the game. And I say, here it comes, joy of victory. I sprint out on the court. The cameras are on me. I know they're going to be on me. I get to center court to hug Derek Wittenberg. For the first time in 10 games, he's hugging someone else. I'm by myself with 50 million people. And I got this on tape, and the announcer says, and there he goes. And where's he going, right? The kid's wacko. So I go to the right. I'm going to hug. Now, this is not a group of jockeys. The basketball players. I can't, you've seen the thing where you jump on the pile? I can't get on top. No. I mean, it's 6'8", 6'9". So now I say, I got to hug somebody because I know, they're still on me. So, I pick out a blonde, little cheerleader over here. I say, here I come. And I start sprinting at her, and I get a little too close to a gentleman who was our athletic director by the name of Willis Casey. Nice man, a little old, a little heavy, he's ready to retire. And I had no intention of hugging him.
Right.
Absolutely. I had the blonde. She was running. I was going to catch her. And I had the angle. And he put his arm out like this. And the guy, he caught me right here. And he pulled me to his chest and he hugged me. And now the announcer said, look at that. Isn't that sweet? Jim has finally found something. And he's crying. I wasn't crying. I hit the larynx, My eyes were watering. I was cheering. And I tried to break free. And just at the last moment, this man grabbed my face. He was so happy we won the championship. He kissed me.
Full on the mouth.
On national television, right on the lips. And I ran here. I ran there. And the announcer said he finally found what he's looking for, a 65-year-old fat man. I knew the joy of victory and the agony of defeat at the same moment. That's the last time I tell that story.
Something there.
And that's it. But it happened. True story.
Don't set those things up.
True story.
That's funny. We're going to take a short break for a commercial, but we're coming right back. Okay. We're talking with Jim Valvano. Question that occurred to me then. I'm watching a ball game. See what you think of this. You mentioned the size of the players. Years ago, the game was, there were very few players over 6 feet. Now, when I was in high school and college, if you had a guy who was 6'1" or 6'2", was a big guy. And I don't think basketball was intended for guys the size that are playing now, who are up to 7 feet, to be able to jump up and throw the ball down through the hoop. And a lot of people have said, you know, while it's acrobatically beautiful, and you see, you know, guys, Michael Jordan and do wonderful stuff, this doesn't seem right. The basket should go up a little bit, so the guy who is 7'1" or 7'2" cannot really jam the ball down through it. What do you think?
Well, you know, there's all kinds of rule changes people would like to think about, and the fact is, but if you make the basket higher, then you affect the little guy. And what they've done...
But there aren't any little guys anymore. They're all... I mean, a little guy is 6'6", 6'5"?
Yeah, well, you got guys like Spud Webb in the NBA,
well, that's
5'6".
One guy.
I think a better rule is to widen the lane. You know, at least in college basketball, pros have done that because then it keeps the big guys away from the basket more. And that's an international ball, and that's something that we need to do, is to make the rules more similar around the whole world so that we can be a little more successful in international competition.
You would miss those wonderful ballet moves because they are a work of art, sailing through the air. They're like they're in slow motion. And
Michael Jordan's the greatest, though.
It's uncanny. I mean, it's just I don't know how. Does he even know what he's doing when he does stuff like that?
He just gets it, and away he goes. He's 6'6", and I think if, you know, they said to the Lord, make a basketball player, that's what you'd get, Michael Jordan.
Well, Magic Johnson's not exactly.
Yeah, he's 6'9".
I know, that's you see.
That's incredible.
And then there's the little guys, they're 6'6". Yeah, break. Somebody told me a story once where you met one of your idols, Joe DiMaggio, and we're going to go over to talk to him in a restaurant, and it didn't turn out.
You've had this happen to you, I'm sure. When you approach a star, you want to say the right thing. And you really want to. It's not as easy as that it appears at times. Well, my father, Joe DiMaggio, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood in New York. Joe DiMaggio, he's talking about DiMaggio. Was that New York Italian? Which one is that for? All right. Well, it goes together, I guess. And so my father always talked about DiMaggio, the best. He was the best. Well, it just so happened that my dad met Joe DiMaggio in an airport. And shortly after, my dad, I lost my dad. Now, it's this happy story, though, because when he met DiMaggio was nice to him. And my mother always said how wonderful it was, and my dad died. He's very happy.
To meet Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, so I remember that story. So as luck would have it, here I'm playing in the Crosby golf tournament. And here's, we're having the dinner, and there's Joe DiMaggio. And he's on the buffet line. Whoever thought a buffet line should be shut anyway? You got the plate and the rolls and the this and the chicken. And so I see him, and I want to go up to him. Up here in my mind, and this happens to all of you, approach a star. Up here, what I'm going to say is, excuse me, Mr. DiMaggio, I would just like to thank you for the kindness you showed my dad several years ago.
That's very good.
Isn't that nice? And he would say, oh, thank you. And then I go sit down. Very nice. I get there. He turns around, and you start to fumfer already, you know, one of those. He's got all this stuff there, and I said, Joe, forget Mr. DiMaggio. Hey, Joe. And he's like that, and I say to him, here it comes out. I say, Joe, you met my dad in the airport, you shook his hand, and then he died. And
it loses something.
And, you know, I said, now up here, it was a wonderful thing. Here, and when I said it, you can't get that back. And he looked like this saying, I finally, the guy, how long has this guy been chasing me? You know, and the potato fell off, the salad went down. And you can't say anything else. You just turn around.
Well, one of your problems is, Joe, as I say this to you, one of your problems is you were thinking of that basketball thing beforehand. You were thinking, well, you shouldn't plan these things.
Oh, very bad.
That's where you get in trouble. You should just go with instinct.
But you know that's happened to you at times when people come up and they want to say something.
Years ago, one of my idols was Cary Grant, who became a very close friend. And this must have been 25 or 30 years ago, and I was just starting out here in Southern California doing a local show, and we were at some function, and I see him coming over. You know, and I know he's not coming to talk to me, and he was, because I did a little show here in Los Angeles. And before I could say Mr. Grant and so forth, he says, you know, I've always been one of your big fans. He says, I'm Cary Grant. And I said, you're kidding. You know, I didn't know what to say. I said, you're kidding, but I couldn't say, you just don't know what to say.
At least you didn't kill him. I mean,
oh, that's awful.
I go back,
you shook hands when my dad died.
Yeah, my wife says, how'd it go? I said, I think I just told Joe DiMaggio he killed my father. And I'm not going back up there either, I'll tell you.
Hey, it's great to always have you here. Tell me, I know you have to run, but you're going to do a little cameo, understand, The Cosby Show?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm really happy and excited about that. I made a bet with Bill Cosby on television. I went to Rutgers University.
Right.
He went to Temple. I said Rutgers should make the NCAA tournament. He's heard me on TV say that.
Right.
And so he called me up on the air, and he said, you should say Temple should be in it. I said, no, I went to Rutgers.
Right.
You say Temple on your show. I'll say Rutgers on my show. So he made me a little bet. He said, if Rutgers gets in, he'd have me on a show. And so I was rooting like crazy. They got in, so maybe we'll have a spin-off. Who the heck knows? The Italian kid from Queens. I don't know.
Thanks for coming again.
Hey, it's always a
Come
pleasure.
back often, will you?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.